What's going on, guys? Time for another recap on the YouTubes. Let's hop in. So, first things first, we're expecting a little bit more downside, right? And we've seen the VIX as we posted on Twitter. Let's grab that real quick so we can see what we're chatting about here. So, yesterday on the VIX, I posted that the volatility index had an opportunity to maintain above 1415. And the SPY above the weekly POC, right? So right here on the post, it said this level from the weekly POC highlighted 474.44 was a massive over under because of the volume profile on a weekly near all-time highs. This was a massive point. So historical volume level will be coming into play intraday now, right? So I was talking about the VIX had to swap right here, deviation to the uptrend, okay? So in your standard deviation, they have directionals. So let me grab the VIX right here. And on the VIX, we had the deviations pointing downside. So you see these green bars right here. They are all pointed to the upside, obviously in an uptrend. Now, a lot of the times you see swaps happen. All the deviation was pointed to the downside, right? And against all odds, the VIX held support and held gap up and then did another gap up and then another one here at the pre-open. But the standard deviation once swapped and once we maintained, and this is a level I called for my Primo group right here, anything above 1419, we're going to have an opportunity for a sell, right? So that sell coming into a massive over under on SPY, so let's go back here, was the main precursor for the move. So yesterday's price action, right? Let's take a peek at this. You can see a couple little blips, just some hardcore squeezes right here above our premium gold level, 475.44 that we had called, but inevitably closed underneath. So the over under being a late day trend change sell, right? Nice little M pattern there. Here, came back down, test center, and closed mildly close to the center. Now, that just gives the VIX an opportunity to do another gap and another move. And today, we finally had a little helpful catalyst, right? And the little helpful catalyst is obviously retail sales. Retail sales crushed us back down, and we had to come back down to some major support zones. And I traded mostly NQ today, so we'll get over to those. But that was the daily sentiment. Now, before I left my Primo group, I said, guys, keep in mind, we're going to stay above the purple VWAP, most likely go up to the 10 SMA daily or fill the gap very slow. So we had the dump in retail sales, came back down, hit some very large supports. 100 fib is right here as well for a back test on a daily chart on a different chart that we have. But more importantly, our VWAPs here are going to give us some indication of support and resistance. So this is the standard VWAP. This is -2 deviation. This is +2, orange and blue. So anytime that we have a swap where we go into the downside on the bottom channel of the VWAP here, we look for it to hit a massive support, something like a weekly POC, historical weekly daily support, a gap, something massive. And that happened on the Qs, which I'll go over in a sec. But before I left, this consolidation here needed to hold above the POC, this guy here in the red, and above the VWAP in order to squeeze back up to close. Now, this is a gap from yesterday's lows right here, and that's this top channel. So this box, which is mated right here on that dash line, that's the 10 SMA daily, and that's coded inside our intraday charts. So this is the last long call I had. So I said, watch the consolidation here. It's going to force up all the way back up to here. So that's going to be your last long play. So let's take a peek at the short play and the long bounce that we had called. And we did have a very beautiful call for the continuation back up to yesterday's lows to fill this common gap and driving into more data tomorrow. So again, this same pattern where pre-market lows gets bought up, gets a big old pop, and then resells has been happening over and over and over again since the initial wash. Now, doesn't mean we can't get bought back up, but the way data is planning and how everything's going here, we should see a little bit of further if the VIX maintains on our call above 1418, because we have gaps all the way up on the VIX at $16.86 to 62 cents. So I'm looking for that gap on the VIX to fill to the upside, even on this run. So let this beautiful short play out. So back to the Qs. Let's talk about the bounce play. How do we figure it out? I'm going to go here and trading view. So Qs had a massive dip here, and I waited for the absolute bottom, and we bottom ticked it right here for a pretty massive day. So I'll grab my Ninja Trader here. There it is. So this is my Ninja Trader. It's not a picture. It's actual Ninja Trader. So on the PA accounts here, unfunded. And after this video on the recap, I'm going to go into Apex. You see my funded accounts right here. They are all over 4,400 bucks, a little bit here. I get a payout tomorrow. So I have a $7,500 payout coming from Apex tomorrow. I opened another 3 this morning because there was a deal in a 1-day pass. So I did trade another for 3,500. Now, these small P accounts are the ones that you want to, maintain for continuation payments on Apex. So again, check the next video coming up. But those are our P&Ls, and that's where we grab that really massive bottom long. But how do we how do we articulate this trade? Let's go grab trade view. So this was the main driver here, right? This right here, this box. And I said, once it taps into this box, I'm going long just under 403 on the Qs. Well, why is that? Well, volume profile and VWAPs. So for one, we had a low from a couple days ago, right? And this was a started trend. So we dipped down here. I put an anchor on here. This is an anchor VWAP. And then it gives me deviations outside of the center. So here's the regular VWAP. Then it goes +1, 2, 3, -1, 2, 3, so on and so forth. That's not the one. That's 0, 2, and 3. So where those VWAPs come in, we were coming into a massive support zone as we were nearing an anchor VWAP -3, which is pretty insane. So that dip buy off an anchor VWAP and off of a premium level, and I'll show you where I got the premium level from, is how we dictated this long trade. So I look back in time, we go to the 30-30 chart, and I'm just going to peek back, and all the way back here was a double closed POC zone. So right here. Now I paired this with a couple other things. It's my drawing tool. So you can see right here, this small gold bar, that's a POC. This other small gold bar, that's a POC. So I grabbed this little area right at 403 as a double POC zone from the 30-30. So historically, good volume was traded. Now, I'm so used to TOS. There we go. So what I did after that is I wanted to grab the high-low range here of what we were coming into. So this breakout green, I wanted to know where the highest amount of volume traded, again, was from the tippy top here all the way down to this. Now this breakout, I went a little bit above so I could catch that next day, but these 2 4-step days told me where there was a very big volume hit on, right? So if we stretch this out, now look at the volume traded here. Here's a huge block. Here's a huge block right where our zone is. And here's a huge block. So these were the 3 largest zones traded in this huge force-up price action. So I took that into consideration while looking for another huge support there, double POC right here. And I drew that into today's intraday action on the dump from retail sales. So not only that, we had a large amount of volume traded there. You can see here. So from this data set, we had some just under 403 high volume areas as well. So we had a multitude of things just under 403 on Qs that we had taken part of. Now we went long here for those bigger P&Ls. The main account on Tastyworks, think of it like 500 there, a little over 300 on the lives, and then the Apex potential fundeds are 10 something to 3,500 each, but that every single one of those trades was all caught right here, all activation trades right here. So all of those combined markers mixed with intraday and VIX, and I'll show you what I've seen in the VIX now. This is the last piece of the pie, had me dip by this area. That's why I want to dip by. We had too many confluence points. They were all working together, and I closed the VIX. So let's look at it here. And this gap up on the VIX is why I said long from that bottom, because the VIX has this gap on from the 15-minute close. So at 8:15 Central Time for me, the VIX shuts down and then it reopens up during live trading. These gaps are often filled same day or later on, and you can find early direction by doing the opposite of the VIX. And that's what I used literally every day during our scalp trades, and why we're consistently green on all live and funded accounts and demos that we are building. So this gap that had to be hit high, lower high, and broken into, you can see convergence here. So there's a really nice action histogram on the backside. Lower highs on the RSI coming back down to 50 support, breaking down to the top channel. So when the VIX busted into this gap, it should come back down and fill before it wants to go back up. So this whole scenario, once it started breaking from this lower high, we had called in my premium chat on Discord live. I said, well, if this breaks down to that gap and starts heading back down for that fill, you're going to have to go long. And we are coming off of a really massive point of interest here. So on the Qs, with that said, and we can match up the time frame here, but we had already started the retrace because we took that bottom on Qs. So this consolidation near the 10 and right at POC, this is where I said stay long and stay long because we were going to come all the way back up to at least close to yesterday's highs. But my target is the 5-minute charts, 100 EMA, and that was my last long call for my friends in the premium Discord. So we did knock out another pretty solid move there all the way back up from POC. And then again on SPY was the same jam. You're looking for that 5-minute back test on the 100 EMA off the POC zone. So this is your POC on your volume profile, red line, up to 100 EMA. That was the long call that we made. Even on the futures, because we trade ES off there, that was still a 6.5 point move. And then once you were high above volume area highs, right? So here's my volume area high in the orange, volume area high. Once price action, this stuff here gets too high, it has to return to volume area high, right? Especially with catalysts throughout the afternoon here, as we slowly get into the day, the consolidations and pushes slow down. So this stuff right here was a very good incantation that we were going to come selling back down, especially when the VIX, let's go back to the VIX again, these partner back and forth, hit its 100 EMA 5-minute. And a lot of people say you can't do TA in the VIX. I do it every single day. They're nuts. So we do have another gap right here on the VIX. This will come back down potential. So we're going to pay attention to this as well. So if the VIX lower highs from here and the market gets picked up for another rip rally back to yesterday's lows, that would continue the call. Now, we got a pretty good sell here. Let's check if we have any recent news in the last little bit here. Fed swap trim odds of March interest rate cuts by about 50%. Okay, so that could be it. A couple other little things there. Gold, silver coming down. Not AMD. So those are all the little technical analysis points of interest that we need to make sure that we're watching every day for the opening morning scalps. That's how we predict accurately every single morning that we possibly can how to do this. Now, for the remainder of the day, I would look for an opportunity here to catch another support, come back, fill yesterday's lows, fill up that gap, and then hopefully into tomorrow's data, we do get continuation under the 10 SMA daily on SPY. That little move right there would give VIX a little bit of a relax time because, again, we swapped to the upper deviation, right? So our standard deviation is up, so we're still kind of hot. We'll come down, fill this gap, maybe even fill this gap right here to yesterday's highs, which we have not done. It shied it right there, and come back down for potential gap fill before it wants to head up towards 16. Now, if data is good and we'll see what the jobs and we'll see what Fed speaks, we have to be very reactive on data is different. Maybe the VIX shuts back down, comes all the way back down to fill some of the bigger gaps before it wants to run. And then we're going to look for the SPY and everything else to be maintenance above 10 SMA daily. So if we loop that 10 again, we start making support here, then the VIX drops because of data, then we swap bias above the 10 SMA daily. But until then, we are still under that weekly that we had called yesterday in this beautiful short rainbow down to massive support, and then pick the bottom for the retrace. So we did great. Tune in for the next recap. We'll catch you then.